Spoilers and offensive content to come. Dave, we are 93. Two Fat Guys Talk, EP 93.
Wow, it's almost the sum of our ages. Except totally not.
It is nowhere near this. Okay. Dave, we are recording. We are doing one of these things called a podcast. Since our secondary project has really become our primary project, which is the Carlos Name Anime Review, the best anime review and reaction show on the internet. For those of you who don't know, we actually also... Dave, don't you dare put your foot near that mic. I am going to fucking hurt you. Pardon the noise. I'm moving the mic further away. You are really pissing me off today. So we are doing one of these podcasts because, for those of you who don't know, we actually started as a podcast called Two Fat Guys Talk Games. Later, Two Fat Guys Talk, where we mostly talk about games. We have a few things to get through. Every year since we started Two Fat Guys Talk, we have, without fail, covered E3 to some extent. And last year kind of set the template for how we want to cover it going forward, where we actually watch every presentation, talk about it, and put out an episode with our impressions that evening. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing that again for E3 2017, but we tend to also talk about our E3 predictions before E3 happens. Now, Dave, how many conferences are there this year? There's the Nintendo presentation in Treehouse Live, which the only important part is the Nintendo presentation.
Yep.
The Bethesda conference, the EA conference, the Ubisoft conference, Microsoft and Sony, and is there a PC gaming one this year again?
Probably.
Last
year's wasn't awful. It just wasn't great.
Oh yeah, for sure. So,
but better than the year before when it was just awful.
What I kind of want to know from you is, for each of these 8 conferences, or however many there are, and even just in E3 in general, I kind of want to know from you, and then I'll talk about what I want to see. Things you're expecting to happen, and things that throw all reason to the wind you hope happen.
Okay, so let's go by conference.
I agree. Where should we start?
Let's start with PC gaming.
Okay, PC gaming. What do you want to see? Or rather, what do you expect? I
think it'll be improvement over last year's. They tried to tone down a bit of the stupid humor and actually have
a bit of the PC grandstanding that they did the year before that.
They still had some of that, because let's face it.
Last year's PC one was tolerable. They weren't going rah-rah, we're better than consoles. They were actually showing games, which I appreciated.
And that was what was important. That's what they improved. It was no longer just PC superior...
The PC Master Race bullshit.
Thank you. Master Race stuff. Which, hey, at some points, I gotta say, unless it's a poor port of a console game, you will always get more mileage out of your PC game.
For the most part, there's cost concerns to having PCs versus consoles.
There
compatibility,
is.
But we're not here to talk about which one's better, because really, it's not a factor of better or worse. It's a factor of that they're different and they have different considerations.
Well, I'll come back to that here soon.
But that's why I don't like the rah-rahing of it, which I appreciated last year from that conference.
Granted, last year I had to laugh that it was sponsored primarily by
NVIDIA?
No. Their competition, AMD.
Oh yeah, that's right, because NVIDIA was really throwing its hat behind Nintendo last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of funny, because those that were in the know for PCs were like, guys, the video card you just announced sucks. And they were all rah-rah over, everybody's laughing. But I expect that we will see a lot more indie games popping up and their studios on the PC conference.
Okay.
And that's a good thing, because, let's face it, indie games these days, the good ones at least, are what's pushing the AAA game creators to actually up their game.
Mm-hmm.
That's PC for me.
Sure. Are there any PC game hopes you have? Things that you... like, for example, just throwing it out there, whether or not you think Half-Life 3 is going to happen, do you hope to see it, or any other game?
I'd like to see a Portal 3
mm-hmm.
that actually is a combination Portal / Half-Life. Because let's face it, if there ever is a Half-Life 3, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a Half-Life game with the fucking portal gun.
I mean, you can already throw that into Half-Life 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's all that engine, you know, it all works out. For me, what I expect to see out of PC gaming is, it's also my hope, the same thing as you, more indie titles, because they're getting more and more prominent and, more and more impressive. And definitely, even though each console maker has been in their own way trying to push the indies, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have all been trying some individual efforts to push indies. The fact is that, you know, all of these are being developed on a PC.
Mm-hmm.
All of these, especially 2D games and games with engines with less technical requirements than AAA titles, those can easily be packaged together in some kind of environment and engine which will work anywhere. So, I mean, stuff like Unity, for example, or many 2D game creators can all do that. Mm-hmm. So, my expectation and my hope are the same there, and that's to see the more indie games. In terms of hopes, is it too much to ask for a new Descent?
That's already happened though?
No, I mean a Descent. Like, okay. Let me temper that. Is it too much to ask for a new X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game with the Force Awakens ships that is as good or better as TIE Fighter?
Probably.
And that has great control support, including mouse controls ripped right out of Wing Commander 2, which has just about the best mouse controls for flying a ship I've ever had in a game.
Now, there is one game that I do hope I hear about from Bethesda this year.
Or are we going to jump to the Bethesda conference first?
No, I guess we should.
Okay, jumping to Bethesda.
Bethesda now has a number of decent licenses under its publishing arm that they don't make. Like Doom. After the amazing Doom relaunch they did a couple years back.
Great game.
And with the ending they left us.
That was last year, right? It wasn't a couple of years back.
I want me some Doom 2.
You Doom 2.
Because the Doom relaunch was a spectacular game that was optimized to the fucking teeth. It didn't hurt that it was a great game that basically made all of our fears disappear. Except for the multiplayer. Mm-hmm. Even that got better.
Yep.
Though you still had to buy that freaking season pass, which gave you access to all the other modes. Which is bullshit.
Agreed.
Anyway, main game was fantastic. Ending left us on a cliffhanger kind of thing. So I want my fucking sequel.
So your hopes for out of Bethesda are a sequel to the Doom remake. The Doom reimagining. Doom 2 would be such a confusing title to give it, but...
And I wouldn't mind a new Skyrim, or even if they're not going to announce a new Fallout game this quickly. And to be honest, I don't want one. Fallout 4 was a good game, especially with what modders did with it. But after playing The Witcher 3, all these open world games that try and follow in Bethesda's footsteps for Skyrim and Fallout just don't seem as good anymore after what Witcher did. So Witcher set the bar so high above a Bethesda game, it's just like, ew. And not for the reasons that you say ew.
So what I'm expecting out of Bethesda, out of the games they publish, I'm expecting some kind of Doom announcement, and looking forward to that, actually. As far as Bethesda developed games go, I'm expecting what we usually get out of Bethesda, and that's garbage piled upon more garbage, because Bethesda blows. As for my hopes, I'm also hoping for a Doom sequel. But what I hope is that after playing things like The Witcher and Dragon's Dogma, and especially one Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that Bethesda looks within, feels the shame of having this Japanese company that has never made an open world fantasy game like that before completely blow Bethesda out of the fucking water with a game that is superior to any Elder Scrolls game easily. All their good qualities combined don't equal Breath of the Wild's worst parts. I hope that Bethesda does some soul searching and actually manages to put out an Elder Scrolls game that doesn't make me want to immediately sleep. And I'm hoping that Breath of the Wild will impart on Bethesda a desire to make games that actually are good.
I also want my new Wolfenstein.
Yeah, what the hell? Why not? Hell,
the Wolfenstein sequel / relaunch they did now 3 years ago was bloody amazing as well. So whoever Bethesda is publishing for Doom and for Wolfenstein, good job. You got a couple of companies that know what they're doing. It's unfortunate that the Bethesda label is on them. But hey, as long as they don't interfere a la EA, we're good.
The Bethesda label as a publisher doesn't really bother me because that's just publishing. It's whatever, you know. It's the Bethesda developed stuff that I've never heard so much bullshit come out of a company than when Bethesda talks about its own self-developed games, because they are so good at crafting worlds that are just beautifully renditioned piles of nothing. And I mean, that's all Bethesda is, and I'm hoping they've learned their lesson, because there could be a lot of good here. There should be a lot of good in Bethesda developed properties, and there just isn't. Yeah, Bethesda. What's the next one you want to chat about?
Ubisoft.
Alright, let's talk about the Ubisoft one. I'll go first on this one. What I'm expecting out of Ubisoft is for that sassy black lady who hosts all their fucking E3 presentations to be sassy and awesome, and for men on the internet to hate her, and for every single game they present to be something that I am completely uninterested in. And what I am hoping to get out of Ubisoft is a short show so we can move on to other shows.
Yeah, Ubisoft's show tends to be lots of humor that falls flat.
Mm-hmm.
Very uncomfortable presentations with players playing games that make you feel bad for them. And just overall uninspired games. Because, I mean, I hear we're getting another Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course we are. You don't say, really.
We're getting probably a new Far Cry game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some more dance games.
Again, another...
It's going to be one of the worst shows, even below Bethesda. At least Bethesda, they'll try and show you some new stuff and be proud of their achievements. Where Ubisoft, other than their host, everything feels off. Like they're so proud of the shit they're showing.
I don't get how Ubisoft, why they even have these conferences, but whatever.
Well, I don't understand why Ubisoft actually has their own storefront, like a Steam alternative. I don't, because it sucks.
Speaking of Steam alternatives that suck, let's talk about EA.
Oh, God.
So, EA. I am fully expecting to see more EA Sports titles.
Well, of course.
What else does EA do?
At least one driving game.
Oh, some driving games, which probably can count as sports titles.
We will get...
some kind of World War II or Battlefield or whatever else they do game.
They are doing a World War II style Call of Duty game.
What I'm hoping out of EA is what I hope out of EA every year, and that's a new Mutant League Football or a new or NHL 94 2.
Look, now that we already know that, did you hear that they're putting Mass Effect on hold?
Yeah, I did hear this. I guess BioWare counts as part of EA, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So we're probably going to hear about another expansion to the Star Wars Old Republic MMO.
EA.
I think it's too soon for a SimCity relaunch. Seeing as everybody and their mother seems to have come up with the indie groups to have made a better SimCity game, not called SimCity. Gee, online. Oh, EA will continue the trend of online-only properties, thinking that it still is going to make them money. EA just kind of sucks. I mean, EA, the level of bad that they put onto the different publishers or the different game creators that they have underneath their licenses comes to how much they actually meddle. I wouldn't be surprised to see a new Dragon Age come out or be announced this year. It's been a few years since that came out for Inquisition. And I enjoyed Inquisition a lot. So with no new Mass Effect on the horizon, which is a surprise because Andromeda was supposed to be a trilogy just like the original. And despite what a lot of people say, Andromeda is nowhere near as bad as they say. It isn't. I mean, it's not a 9 out of 10 like some of the previous games, barring Mass Effect 3's ending controversy, which really isn't a controversy. I'd say it's not 9 out of 10 by any means, but it's probably about a 7.5. I mean, low for Mass Effect standards, but it's a springboard. It's something new.
I don't understand any score that isn't out of 3 pi. Can you rephrase the score in 3 pi terms, please?
No, I will not.
I don't see how you got against the superior free 3 pi system.
But that's EA.
Sure.
Definitely should not be the most hated company in the US, but people are stupid.
Agreed.
Yeah?
All right. Nintendo. Let's do Nintendo.
Okay.
What I'm expecting out of Nintendo is a bunch more new titles for the Switch and the 3DS, partly because they're announcing a lot more new titles for the Switch and the 3DS. I'm so glad the 3DS is still enjoying support. They recently released the new 2DS XL, which is basically a 3DS with no 3D. It's basically a new 3DS with no 3D. So with the extra stick and extra processing ability. They're committed to that system, and I like that system, so I'm glad I still have one and play it fairly regularly. So we're apparently going to get new games for that, which is great. For stuff for the Switch, I've hated on the Switch already on this podcast. We don't need to repeat it. It would be nice to hear, I can't think of what games would make me want to get a Switch, really. I'm expecting more info on Mario Odyssey, but I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking on... We're not going to hear the next Zelda is certainly not going to be announced, unless it's a 3DS 2D Zelda. And even then, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see a new Zelda announcement other than DLC for Breath of the Wild. They could try to pull some shit where only the Switch gets some DLC. They might. Nintendo would try to pull this shit.
The only thing there is that they've already announced that the Season Pass DLC that includes the first one they're doing, and then the second one, which is the actual storyline, that's all the DLC they're doing, and it's on both systems.
I think in terms of hopes, I just hoped the Switch was a cheaper and better system. Like, what I hope is that they announce another revision for the Switch that costs less and where the Joy-Cons aren't garbage. But that's my only real hope, because what Nintendo's going to do is they're going to come out strong with their games, which I always appreciate even if I don't always like Nintendo's decisions. And I can't think of too many things that'll make me just go out and really want to Switch, unless it's like some kind of Final Fantasy VI sequel designed by Platinum Games in the vein of Nier. That's the only thing I can think of that would make me go, okay, I need to get a Switch right fucking now. I kind of hope that we see some more 2Ds. Another 2D Zelda game on the 3DS would be great, because the last time they did that was probably my favorite Zelda game, which was A Link Between Worlds. So that's a hope I have. What about you, Dave? What are you expecting to see out of a Nintendo, and what do you hope to see out of Nintendo?
Well, what I'm expecting to see out of Nintendo is a whole bunch of really good-looking first-party games. Mm-hmm. Okay-looking third-party games that are going to look better everywhere else.
Sure.
Sorry, better on Sony.
Uh-huh.
And not many third-party exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do I hope to see? I would love to see a Metroid game in the style of Prime.
Same studio?
Same studio if they could. But if you don't want to go that route, give us a new 2D like Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion. Better yet, just give us an updated version of Metroid Prime and then Metroid Fusion in that engine, and then a brand new third game. Give us like a trilogy kind of thing.
So you're hoping for more Metroid, basically.
I like more Metroid. I mean, it is too soon for a new Zelda. They're not done with the current one, so it's too soon. I am hoping for a newer version of the hardware that isn't quite so weak. I mean, Nintendo hardware's usually been pretty sturdy, and this is not a sturdy system. I am not a fan of keeping 3DS publishing going.
Fuck you.
I wish they would retire it completely and give me all these good RPGs from the 3DS on a kinda TV console.
You can go fuck yourself, but go on.
But Nintendo's not going to do that because, let's face it, the Switch is really not a portable system to use on the fly.
Will we see either a new Smash game or, much in the vein of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, an updated Smash, an updated version of the last Smash? And if it's the latter, will it have new characters?
If they do a updated version, yeah, it would have new characters. But I don't care. I do not play Smash outside playing with friends, and with only 2 people, it's not that much fun. So, unless you have a group to play it with, Smash is not a great game.
Why would you play Smash when you have the superior ARM-based combat game, ARMS?
Shut up.
Yeah, I know, thank you. I deserve that. Fuck ARMS.
I do really expect that we are going to see less impressive versions of other PS4 games.
Speaking of which, Sony.
No, Microsoft.
Okay, Microsoft.
Come on, I said worst.
Well, no, we transitioned. Okay, whatever. Microsoft, I guess. I fully expect to hear news about the next Gears of War and news about the next Halo.
Funny enough, they've already confirmed no Halo news this year.
Okay. So next Gears of War. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I can think of surefire things they're going to do. Microsoft tends to surprise quite a bit. We might hear new Killer Instinct stuff because that game is still going. Really a good model, even if you don't like the game itself. It's really a good model for fighters and one that's proven sustainable. The model of the game's free to play with a rotating character, buy the characters you want, or the whole thing. Arguably,
which is funny for a system that has practically been abandoned.
It's funny because it's also on PC too, so the Killer Instinct still has an audience there. But arguably, Street Fighter V needed to do that. Not every fighting game needs to do that. Street Fighter V was begging for that system.
Yep.
So we're going to see more Killer Instinct Gears of War stuff. Stuff I'm hoping to see. You know what I hope we get, because I'm still in the market for a new PC. I still want to buy one. You know what could easily end that search? If there's a new model of Xbox One, whether it's the Scorpio or whatnot, that is both an Xbox One and a PC in its own right, which lets me run Windows apps and which lets me not need a Windows machine. That's actually, I know it's not really gaming related to say that, but that's kind of my hope out of Microsoft. That would be a neat thing for me to see. I also kind of hope we get a big surprise in that if Nintendo does announce a new Smash game, that we see something in the Microsoft conference where they bring out like someone from Nintendo to talk about new guest character, Master Chief, or the Arbiter. Because Microsoft and Nintendo don't look at each other as rivals. And Microsoft really likes Nintendo. They've wanted a character in Smash. They've openly said that we would let characters of ours be in that game. I would love to see, just for in an often ugly competitive landscape, that would be a neat sign to see, even if there's no chance in fucking hell. Microsoft, what are we going to see, Dave, and what do you hope to see?
Well, we're going to hear a lot about teraflops from the Scorpio.
Christ! I forgot about the 6 teraflops of gaming power!
I'm glad I could remind you of that. We're going to hear a lot about that sort of shit. Christ. Because Scorpio is this year.
It is.
I figure we're going to actually, unlike Sony saying that games would have to work on both the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, I think we're about to see Microsoft piss off a lot of people by saying, yeah, your Xbox One is dead. Because all of our games are being optimized for Scorpio. Microsoft is stupid enough to do shit like that.
So you're expecting they're going to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
I expect that Crackdown 3 will finally be given a release date of 2025.
Yeah. That's a good year to
after they have gotten their cloud technology down so that every building can be blown up and stay that way. And fuck Microsoft for teasing me with Crackdown 3 for 3 to 5 fucking years.
Hey, at least you know you're going to see it scale-bound.
Yeah, that one's outright canceled.
Yep.
Microsoft's doing a really good job at canceling all their Xbox One exclusives.
I need to add a hope there. Platinum developed Arbiter game.
Hey, you do more of the Dream-style stuff.
A hope is a hope, okay? It doesn't have to be realistic or even plausible. We have had weird announcements before at E3s, right? So
I do expect we'll see another Gears of War game, because Gears of War 4 did sell very well. But we won't see that for probably a year and a half-ish. But I'm not expecting that much from Microsoft for their conference. I mean, they've proven that almost every exclusive game that they were developing, they've outright canceled. Whether it wasn't compatible with the Scorpio or it was in development hell because of Microsoft pointing fingers. It's just Microsoft doesn't seem to have very competent game management these days. They just don't. I mean, I own an Xbox One. I have not fired that thing up in months. And that was probably since I played Gears of War 4 with my boss, like back in November or even October. There's nothing out there that's on Microsoft that I can't get elsewhere better.
Including PC, and there are a lot of Xbox One games that's kind of a feature, is that many of their titles are also on PC, fully featured.
However, that's where me and Microsoft
That's why
disagree.
That's why I have that hope to make the Scorpio a full-on PC.
Mainly because I won't run Windows 10. That's the only place some of these games are going.
To be fair, it's because your system and Windows 10 don't talk very well.
Oh no,
there's some good things about Windows 10 and some real shitty things about Windows 10.
I've got a hard drive with Windows 10 on it. My system run Windows 10 just fine.
Okay. I thought you had some issues.
I can't use some of the manufacturer drivers, and some of the Windows drivers are kind of iffy, but it works. Fine. It's Windows 10 that I hate. Not looking forward to ever having to permanently go to Windows 10. Ever. Because it's counter to everything they've done since 3.1.
There's a lot of things about it that I don't like. A lot of things where they take control out of your hands, where in order to get it back, you have to go into services or the registry, and I don't like that. Especially stuff like,
privacy,
not being able to easily turn off automatic restarts. That it is not a trivial thing to tell your system to not fucking restart your system arbitrarily. That is not trivial, and that should be the most trivial fucking thing in the world.
Should be a switch. So, that's what I expect from Microsoft this year. They'll probably talk up a bunch of their Windows 10, Xbox One stuff, but I don't know if they're going to do that for the Scorpio. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft takes a good thing that they were doing with Xbox One, and they're like, yeah, no, if you want the game, you have to buy the Scorpio. We're not doing Windows 10 games anymore. Whether they support Windows 10 gaming, just all the hell.
Speaking of your ass, let's talk about Sony. Do you want to start this one?
You go ahead.
Okay. What I expect to see out of Sony, the Crash collection hasn't released yet, right?
No, it's
Crash
coming
1 through 3 remastered. They're probably going to show more of it at the show and then surprise announce that it's available. In fact, that sounds about right. The game sounds like it should be ready to go.
It is.
Imminently. So I think they're going to just say, and it's available right now. So it'll be available at E3 around the time of their conference. We may get more on God of War. I have no doubt we're going to get more on God
definitely.
of War. Sony has its own indie gaming initiatives. They're probably going to show a bunch more indie games as well. Probably Square is going to show more Final Fantasy VII Remake at the Sony show. Because Square Enix doesn't have a conference this year, do they? No, I don't think so. If Square Enix shows stuff from Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3, or even more Final Fantasy 15 DLC, it's going to be at the Sony show. And I suspect we will get at least one of those things at this show. In addition to, there'll probably be some other Square Enix content, and probably more on Detroit Becoming Human, the latest game from the maker of Omicron Nomad Soul. And I hope people have watched the Best Friends playthrough of that nearly killed them, and realized just how awful David Cage is. What I'm hoping for is a studio, not Naughty Dog, because they've moved well beyond this, but a studio that knows what they're doing to make a new Crash game in the vein of like some kind of true retcon sequel to Crash Warped. I sure would like to see a new Crash Team Racing by this same team if they have some time. Because I really don't want to... Mario Kart 8 is great, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe looks even better on the Switch, despite forcing the easy mode on you, instead of just turning it off right away. And I'm really hurting for a good kart racer I can easily just play. And I mean, a new Crash Team Racing would be nice for that. We're probably going to see a new Street Fighter 5 character announced because they're in partnership with Sony, and maybe more on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which will probably be announced at the Sony conference as well. What I hope to see are more interesting characters for these two properties. I suspect we're going to see Iron Fist on the Infinite side, but I'm kind of hoping to see X-Men characters, which are rumored to not be included in the first wave of characters. And I'm hoping to see some characters we haven't seen in that game before, like Elektra. That's really it for Sony on my side of things.
So for me, for Sony, I'm looking forward to Sony and Square Enix, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to the new Dragon Quest game, both of them.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'll touch Dragon Quest Online. It's already a couple of years old, and I don't even know if we're actually going to get it, but the new Dragon Quest RPG looks great. Especially since they're using a similar engine to what they used for the Heroes games. So the characters look great. Just like they did back in 8. Kind of thing, but better. I'm expecting to see a whole bunch more RPGs from Sony on the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. Because let's face it, that's where Sony kind of has the lockdown on RPGs. With the exception of, the ones that obviously Square's going to release on everything. Like Final Fantasy 15.
Mm-hmm.
Might hear about a PC version of 15 this year. Don't really care, but maybe we will. I'm also wondering if we're not going to hear the first hints of the PS5. Because I've been hearing rumors around that we're looking at a 2019 PS5 to try and counter Scorpio.
I really wish the Scorpio that was being countered was Hank Scorpio and not Microsoft's Project Scorpio. Is that it? Is that our full set of E3 predictions? And hopes and dreams?
We're definitely going to see some more VR stuff from Sony.
Christ. Oh, here's another hope for everyone. VR dies.
Shut up.
Fuck VR.
No, I want to see VR go somewhere, and it has to have a starting point.
I want to see VR go the same way as a contestant on The Price is Right who bids way overbid on something that costs $1. And that's dead. Murdered by Drew Carey. Limbs torn apart by Barker's beauties. And then fed to the wolves they keep in the studio.
So we're gonna see Last of Us 2 this year.
Well, we already saw Last of Us 2, but we're gonna see more on it, is what you mean.
I think we'll actually get a release date for Last of Us 2 this year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for a new Infamous game, because Second Son was awesome. What else? I doubt we'll hear about another Uncharted game this year. Maybe another Kingdom Hearts side story game.
Oh, we can only hope.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, outside of RPGs and, you know, a couple of the major games, there's not that much from Sony for me these days. They're doing lots of crossover style games. I mean, I still haven't gotten to Persona 5, so we're not going to hear about Persona 6 anytime soon. Though I would like to actually hear from Atlas that they are doing a PS4 port of Persona 4 Golden.
It could happen.
Because the game is still super popular. A lot of people didn't get the Vita or a PS TV. And it would be a damn shame if they didn't.
I think we're more likely to get this new Persona fighter that is being rumored and that may or may not have had a patent filed for it.
Oh, lovely.
Because the Arxis Persona fighters are quite popular. And admittedly, they have some really cool design choices that have made their way into their games. Even Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite now has the easy auto combo thing that I believe Persona 4 Arena made popular and started, right? So a Persona 5 Arena with some guest starring Persona 4 characters is it's not outside the realm of possibility to see at Sony's conference.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, we'll probably also hear about the new Guilty Gear.
More on Revelator or XR to Rev 2, rather.
Yeah. Which is still being charged for $60 for.
Well, you can get it as DLC, and apparently the Steam version of XR can get it as DLC, and it's coming out soon. So Arxis is finally catching up on Steam on the idea that they need to release their fighters on Steam faster so that PC players can be kept up. And that's maybe, I'll say, another hope for PC gaming for me is exactly that. More fighting games released on Steam and on PC in general when they're released everywhere else. And not so much after consoles or Japan.
Yeah.
Is that our E3 predictions and coverage?
I think so.
Okay. You've played only a little bit of Street Fighter V, right?
Yep.
Have you heard of the most recent new character released in DLC, Ed?
Nope.
Okay. Ed there's a character in Balrog Street Fighter 4 ending, this little kid who turned out is an artificial human created to be a replacement body for M. Bison, just like Abel. This kid's name was Ed. Ed ages rapidly, so he becomes an adult quickly so that Bison can take him over, right? But Ed was raised by Balrog, has his own kind of bit of psycho power in him. And in Street Fighter V story mode, Balrog and Ed have been actually working against Shadaloo. They've actually been selling out Shadaloo to the Illuminati, which is Gil's organization from Street Fighter 3. And they're trying to basically destroy Shadaloo and move on with their life. Because, I don't know how much Balrog and Ed really care about another, but they seem pretty tight. So Ed is this new blonde guy in a Shadaloo outfit. In the story mode, he had a hoodie, but in this playable variant, he has kind of a Shadaloo soldier outfit. So he kind of has boxing techniques because he learned how to fight from Balrog, although he has kick attacks as well. And he has this neat little psycho power ability he got from M. Bison where he can shoot out a chain of energy and either pull himself to you or pull you to him. It's kind of neat. He also has a little bit of a projectile game with that psycho energy. Here's what's fascinating about Ed, and what I think might pique your interest. If you ever did play the game again, you may want to consider investing in Ed. Ed's super, the command is 2 fireballs forward punch. That is the only command Ed has. Every single one of his special moves is either a direction and a button, or 2 buttons, or tapping a button repeatedly, or holding down a button for an amount of time and letting go. He has no charge motions, other than charging a button. He has no motions. No fireballs, no dragon punches, nothing. Except for his super. Ed's entire move list is something that, other than the super, does not rely on motions or charge motions at all. He's still a fully fledged character. Right now he's in the beta, is kind of the test realm of Street Fighter V, if you will, because they have kind of a test realm they do sometimes for characters. And I've seen a lot of experts playing him, and he's got a full toolkit. He seems to be a fully realized character. But it's fascinating that he has this very experimental control style for Street Fighter. In fact, I think it's a bit of a mistake that he has a traditional super motion. This is the kind of character that really wanted a Raging Demon motion, because that's more in line with the rest of his moves, right? And it's also pretty cool because he's still kind of a kid, and he doesn't want to be part of Shadowloo. Like, I guess his story mode happens after Street Fighter V, and he's trying to fight off Bison's ghost's attempt to take him over, because Ryu killed Bison. And he's got cool win quotes, like when he beats Birdie, he's like, "Man, where did you get that donut? Do you have another donut?" He's pretty cool, actually. Like, when you first look at him, he looks like someone right out of Tanya the Evil. But honestly, he's actually pretty neat. And I have a fighting game I'm making. It's in design doc and finding engine stage. And the idea behind mine is that it has two control schemes, traditional Street Fighter and one that's more like Smash, in that it has attack buttons and directions plus button without any motions. And to see a character like Ed come out where Capcom is trying this makes me kind of think, I wonder if this is going to set a precedent for it or for other fighters like that have been trying to simplify things, like Serlin's Fantasy Strike Fighter, which I believe I linked you on videos and whatnot. What do you think of a character like Ed and a move list like that?
Sounds interesting.
Obviously, you haven't played Ed, so I mean...
Yeah. And I have no inclination to play Street Fighter V.
But what would you think of such a character if they appeared in a game you did play? Like, what if a new Fighting Climax character or Arcana Heart character got released that had this kind of scheme in a traditionally motion-heavy game?
I would definitely try them. Yeah, unfortunately, Street Fighter V and mainly Capcom. I don't want to give Capcom any money.
I hear you.
I don't.
I hear you. I'm looking forward to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but I totally hear your wariness.
I mean, they are sitting on so many properties I love and haven't done anything with them other than mobile games. Fuck Capcom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were talking 4 or 5 E3s ago about the possibility of a new Capcom versus SNK. Still haven't gotten that.
To be fair, Capcom and SNK are not on the best of terms these days. So, I mean, here's the Capcom can't go to SNK and make it happen. Part of the reason Street Fighter Cross Tekken looked so good to me is because it was reminding me a lot of Capcom versus SNK. Mm-hmm. Then the gem system happened, and there went that. But I mean, yeah, it'd be neat to see another Capcom versus SNK. What I find funny is that you're not all over King of Fighters 14. That is a really fun game, and it's definitely more like a Capcom versus SNK than a traditional Street Fighter game. Yeah, you don't have the Street Fighter characters there, but you have a lot of characters you recognize from Capcom vs. SNK too.
I know, but it's really hard for me to really get into a fighting game these days, even with storylines.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't have as much time anymore, and you have to really pick where you play your games.
This is partly why I like the Killer Instinct model. Because honestly, let's say, just for the sake of argument, Arcana Heart 4 use that model. I would buy Heart... and maybe her lesbian friend. And that's it. I would not buy anyone else in that game. Because that's the only character I care to use in Arcana Heart. I do not give two shits about anyone not named Heart Ayano. At all. In that game. So I would only buy her. Why would I waste my money on anyone else? When I can pay $5 or whatever and get the character I know I'm going to want to play 99.9% of the time. The only argument I could make is that if I had money to spare, I might get the whole game just so I can play with the other characters to learn their weaknesses. But that's it. Like, the Killer Instinct model is really nice. Not every game needs to use it. But I mean, Street Fighter V was begging for that model.
Street Fighter V was begging for another year of development and to release as an actual full-fledged game versus a broken shell of people's expectations.
Other than the initial 8 frames of lag it used to have, which I don't like, the engine and the fighting itself was fully realized. But I mean, there's definitely that lag that was an issue. There's the fact that they had a really messed up DLC kind of system.
The rootkit.
The really, really bad arbitrary code execution problem on PC, which Capcom has never apologized for. They needed to apologize. The lack of joystick support on PC, which is built into the engine they use, and they don't have it implemented. So yeah, Street Fighter V takes a lot of missteps. Capcom, in general, does. Where's Mega Man 11? Where's Mega Man X9?
Where's my new Breath of Fire?
Other than what, you mean you didn't play Breath of Fire 6 on mobile?
As I said, no mobile.
Yeah, where's Breath of Fire 7? And, for it to be good, Capcom. It's just so... Capcom is the cornerstone of much of my childhood experiences, and maybe the first creator of real mechanics-driven engines in fighting games and in any game they had developed, right? I think of Nintendo games with mechanics and with mechanics I really like to explore and talk about. And my first thought is Capcom games, Mega Man mainly, and on Super Nintendo, Street Fighter. It's just Capcom. We're in a new era, and it's like Capcom just hasn't kept up.
They haven't.
They have really good ideas, but their fighting game division is doing fairly well despite Street Fighter V's missteps. They listen to players the world over. They have development from all over the world, not just Japan. They're really open that way, but they still have other problems even within that division, and definitely with other franchises they do, other than real runaway successes that can do no wrong, like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, and that's a whole different...
Can of worms.
Can of worms.
Can of worms.
A game I've tried to appreciate that game.
Can of worms? Or Monster
Hunter. I've tried, and it's just not... Again, it's just not fully realized. It's a slog. It's only good if you have 3 other friends playing with you at the same time. Anyway.
So, I've been watching a lot of Marvel Netflix shows. In fact, the last season I need to finish catching up on all of them is Daredevil Season 2, which I'm currently 3 episodes deep in. I kind of wanted to bring it up because you've seen live-action Punisher movies.
No, I haven't.
I think...
I've seen a bunch of wimps playing a Punisher-like character that sucked.
The main arc of Season 2 of Daredevil is the Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the first time I've encountered a real-life, live-action version of Frank Castle that works. This guy they got playing the Punisher... Holy shit, is he the Punisher. He is so good. He is unhinged, but he is committed to killing criminals. He and Daredevil are natural enemies, but he won't kill Daredevil. This Punisher interpretation is by far the best live-action Punisher. And I know that's not a high bar, but even if those Punisher interpretations were good, this one still would blow them out of the water. I know you're not big on watching those shows, but I mean, if you do pick any one of them to watch, try the first couple episodes of Daredevil Season 2, because you will see the most amazing Punisher. There's not too much that you'll miss, like, the events of Season 1 will be talked about, and the events of Jessica Jones, which happened before that season as well. But otherwise, yeah, it is just about the best live-action Punisher I've seen. Which is pretty amazing, because there have been how many live-action Punisher movies, and all of them sucked. All of them.
I think the last one had a good Kingpin. That is all.
I don't think the Kingpin was in the last one. In fact, I don't think the Kingpin one was in any of the movies. He was in the Daredevil one. The really bad Daredevil movie.
The Ben Affleck one?
However, who's that Kingpin again? That black guy?
He's dead now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I liked his Kingpin. He also played the Kingpin in that one CG Spider-Man cartoon. I don't remember that guy's name. The guy they have playing Kingpin in the Netflix Daredevil. Sadly, it's a white guy again. We don't need more white guys in fiction, but his Kingpin is a lot better acted. But that's also why I don't really like him as much. I kind of like over the top, super strong evil Kingpin. I like Kingpin who can, like, fight Spider-Man, and does so with sumo. I like Kingpin who will look at Wolverine and dare him to come at him. Like, I want that Kingpin that is just completely unafraid of anyone.
I can't get into the Marvel cinematic universe when it comes to the TV shows. It's just...
They're way too long. Even Jessica Jones, which is quite possibly the best Marvel Cinematic Universe thing made, and I don't say that lightly, even Jessica Jones, there are some episodes where I was just drumming my fingers, because even though that Jessica Jones is fantastic, every episode is 59 minutes. And that's the same across all the Marvel Netflix shows. They're all 59-minute episodes.
Damn.
Like, they aren't even 44 minutes, which is what most TV hour-long ones are. They're 59. They are episodes and a half.
Yeah.
About. And I can't think of one of them where I didn't kind of drum my fingers going, man, I really could have used 15 less minutes of this show. There's still some good stuff, though. Except for the last half of Luke Cage, where it completely fell apart. And all of Iron Fist.
I think one of the big things I don't like about the MCU when it comes to the TV shows is, most of them don't actually include a single fucking character from the movies.
They talk about them a lot.
They'll talk about them, and they'll talk about the incident.
The incident, yes.
Instead of actually, referencing the fucking attack in New York and talking about what happened, it's the incident. And on shows that you would think you would actually have, Tony Stark show up, or Thor, or whatever else, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you don't. You get a X-Men light.
What's weird is in Iron Fist, there are a lot of instances where Tony Stark could have organically been there. Like, the whole plot is that Rand Enterprises, Danny Rand comes back and he wants to do good with the company. And the current heads of the company, the Meachams, could have easily dropped a line or two about how they're not doing what Stark did. And Tony Stark could have been a plot point.
Yeah.
Hell, Doctor Strange could have been a plot point in Iron Fist because of the heavy Asian influence of Doctor Strange. But it just doesn't happen, which is unfortunate. And they exist in the MCU, but if they didn't actually mention the incident, you'd never know that.
Exactly.
Hell,
they might as well be two separate properties.
Hell, this upcoming crossover, The Defenders, it links Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist together. But I mean, it's the big battle of New York between the Hand and these characters. I think it's the Hand, anyway.
Probably.
And we're not going to see Cap or anyone from the movie, and it would make sense to. Especially the villain from Jessica Jones, Kilgrave. I like to call him Zebediah Kilgrave, but I don't think his name is Zebediah in the show. Who is super well played, one of the best Marvel villains in these properties. But he also has a power that could threaten the entire Avengers, right? And he's in Jessica Jones. Like, he can just mind control you. Just, bam, you have to do what he says. Can't resist it, sorry.
Sorry, Cap's too busy playing Nazi.
Yeah, I know. Because stupid Nick Spencer, who I used to call a Nazi sympathizer, that's actually incorrect. He's actually a full-blown Nazi. People have blown apart his past and his past careers. Yeah, Nick Spencer's a stupid Nazi. He fucking went and made Cap a Nazi. Look, fiction's supposed to challenge you, okay? Here's the other side of that. Fuck Nazis. That's the other side of that. Fuck white supremacist garbage. The filth of the earth. Like, and fuck anything that sympathizes with them or that uplifts them in any way. The only exception to that is where they show remorse for their actions and where they abandon their actions. Fine, make fiction about former Nazis, or make fiction about Nazis in Germany who were trying to kill Hitler, who were basically traitors. No problem with that. Fuck Nazis.
Did I mention he was able to wield Thor's hammer?
Yeah, I know. And considering the Norse mythology worship that Nazis had, that's double gross. Fuck Marvel for letting Nick Spencer do this. And if Marvel does not retcon this the moment it's done, fuck Marvel. There are comic shops who have stopped selling Marvel comics over this shit.
Well,
and I don't blame them at all.
Let's look at the other one they've done recently. How about Magneto working with Nazis?
Yeah, that's great. A Jewish survivor of the Holocaust working with Nazis. Here's the best way to present Nazis in your games, okay? Nazis getting killed. Wolfenstein is a great interpretation of Nazis because you get to kill them. Fuck Nazi filth. Filth. Human beings who don't deserve the time of day, don't deserve salvation or mercy or any kind of sympathy whatsoever, unless they apologize and seek forgiveness for their actions and abandon those ideologies. Then we can forgive, because this is a fucked up world that turns people into Nazis. But while they are Nazis, fuck them. Wow, I'm getting real on episode 93 of Two Fat Guys Talk. Dave, you want me to shit on more groups while we're on this podcast?
No, I think we've got the Marvel stuff got down.
I originally wanted to talk a little bit about Ava, but I think we're getting long in the tooth, and that's kind of a weird odd one out for the rest of the topics.
Yeah,
we've been talking
next
about.
time.
Let's talk about that next time, or in a Carl's Name Anime Review episode where we talk about Ava. All right, folks, we are Two Fat Guys Talk. We are a podcast that talks about games and movies and a bunch of shit. We also have another show, Carl's Name Anime Review, the best anime review and reaction show on the internet. To find either of these shows, you can go to our website, which you can get to by either going to twofatguystalk.com or animerave.xyz. Go there. If, you know what, if you have some money lying around and money's not tight for you, you should consider going to our Patreon. The Patreon link is on our site, and maybe donate us some money. We're going to have Patreon reward tiers up soon. If you don't have the money to spend, please save your money. These are hard times. Just spread the word on social media. Our Twitter is Two Fat Guys Talk. Our YouTube channel is linked up to our websites. Just spread the word to your friends, to your family, to your mothers and fathers, maybe not your parents. And just share the word. And until next time, we bid you adieu. That's how I pronounce adieu, which is French for adieu.